Well, first of all, I don't have their target list. I don't have access to the battle damage assessment, so I'm not in a position to provide independent corroboration of what the president claims or to be able to directly contradict him. What I can say is this: knowing what I know about how this thing works, I would give it about a 98% probability that the president's words do not reflect reality, that the situation on the ground in Yemen is far different than the situation that he has been briefed upon. There's no doubt in my mind that the United States Central Command has identified points on the ground and that the U.S. Navy has put bombs on those points, and photographs show that those geographic points have achieved a certain level of battle damage. But I don't share any confidence that those points on the ground have anything to do with deterring or destroying the Houthis' ability to continue to carry out military operations designed to interdict shipping in the Red Sea or to strike targets in Israel, which should be the military mission of the United States, one would think.
It's funny you should say all that, Scott, because in an hour, we'll be interviewing our friend Pepe Escobar live from Yemen, and he has already sent us a video, which we will share, of course. And what does the video show? Destruction of residential neighborhoods. Doesn't show destruction of anything of any military value whatsoever. Why would CENTCOM destroy residential neighborhoods? Why would they target residential neighborhoods?
Well, again, I can only first of all, the targeting of the residential neighborhoods is beyond me, unless the president, President Trump, is notorious for creating liberal rules of engagement, basically untying the hands of the military so that issues of military necessity outweigh issues of collateral damage or issues of whether or not, basically, are you getting the bang for your buck? I mean, everybody knows in wartime, the civilians pay a very heavy price. But generally speaking, the military is supposed to review targets to determine that if there are collateral casualties, that those casualties are commensurate with the military value of the target being struck. In the past, I have to tell you that the United States, at least when I was in, we would not knowingly strike a target that we knew were going to result in significant civilian casualties. We would deliberately avoid that target. Where accidents have been made, mistakes have been made, and of course, civilians have died in large numbers. We struck a bomb shelter in Adamiyah in Baghdad during the Gulf War, killing hundreds of Iraqi civilians. But again, that was a mistake, an accident. Here, they're striking targets. Knowing what I know about Middle East procurement, and a lot of the targets that are being struck, I believe, are related to the Houthis' ability to procure materials from abroad. So you'll have export-import companies that will operate under various fronts for Yemeni intelligence, and we get a smattering of data here and there, and then we build target sets. I can tell you in Baghdad, as a weapons inspector, I inspected a number of facilities that were located in the middle of residential areas. Many of them were former homes that had been converted to export-import groups that were responsible for buying military equipment from abroad. It's the paperwork. It's where the offices are. The equipment's not there. What I'm thinking is that, first of all, I don't think the United States has a tremendous amount of hard targeting. The Yemeni have been doing this for a long time, since the Houthi have been doing this since 2014. They've been working together with the Iranians. The Iranians are experts at going underground. I can guarantee you whatever target deck we had about the Houthi or Yemeni armed forces and bases and such is no longer valid. It's been shuffled several times as the Houthi seek to relocate their relocatable targets. So I would imagine that our intelligence is out of date. I would imagine that as we bomb targets, we're desperately looking for new targets. So we pull up old intelligence that points us to places on the ground. A lot of times I went to inspect a facility that we thought was a export-import control, only to find that it had been shut down a year prior or 6 months prior and moved to a different location. Our intelligence doesn't update the target list, and as we expend targets, and we've been bombing for a long time, we run out of targets, I can tell you that. And so we go and we scrape the bottom of the barrel. So we're bombing targets that we have no confirmation. I can also guarantee you that our intelligence on the ground in Yemen is uniformly poor. The Houthi are a very insular group. We do not have the kind of penetration into the Houthi society, into their leadership, into their industry necessary to produce the kind of targeting that would be conducive to real-time targeting of value. So I believe our target decks are crap, excuse my language, and that we're blowing up targets that don't exist, that are incorrect. We know this because we're killing a whole bunch of civilians. We're blowing up a whole bunch of targets that have nothing to do whatsoever with interdicting the Houthis' ability to fire missiles. And these are what we call, relocatable targets, mobile relocatable targets. Historically, we have tremendous problems striking these. During the Gulf War, that was my war, was to try and hunt down and kill Iraqi Scud missiles. And I can tell you, despite diverting thousands of sorties and putting men on the ground and all this, we didn't kill a single one. And that's what's happening today. We're not killing anything except innocent civilians. Start off by saying that Iran is a signatory to the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty and is obligated by law and by its own commitments not to have a nuclear weapons program. And as we speak, Iran hasn't been shown to have a nuclear weapons program. In fact, the International Atomic Energy Agency, even though it decries Iranian non-compliance, it's non-compliance with an inspection regime that was, attached to the Iran nuclear deal, which is no longer in place. So when the IAEA says Iran is in non-compliance, it doesn't mean that Iran is actively pursuing a nuclear weapon, but Iran has developed certain capabilities which, according to Iranian officials' own statements, could be brought together in a very short period of time to make Iran a nuclear capable state. And this is what Donald Trump and, of course, Israel are worried about. I will say that in my personal experience in negotiating with people from this region, that the Trump administration is taking the absolute worst approach. The Iranians will not back down. They will not concede to threats. I do believe that there's a window of opportunity there to get Iran to agree to reduce its uranium enrichment program, which would alleviate much of the concerns that Israel and the United States has. But we're taking the wrong approach. And so this will lead to confrontation if we don't change course. What will Russia do? Russia has a strategic framework, a security framework with Iran, but it's not a treaty. There's no Article 5 NATO-like protection where Russia will extend it to. But the United States is, as we speak, having parallel negotiations with the Russians, where we're trying to tell the Russians that we can be trusted, that we're worthy partners in peace and such, and then we turn around and are pushing for a war with Iran, where we have violated every agreement, where we have no legal framework to do this, no justification whatsoever to do this. And as you pointed out, the hypocrisy of seeking to hold Iran accountable for a theoretical nuclear program on behalf of Israel, which refuses to sign the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty and has a nuclear weapons program that refuses to allow this program to be A, admitted, and B, brought under inspections. The hypocrisy is unreal. If we attack Iran, I think the foundation of trust between the United States and Russia will be shattered. That doesn't mean that we aren't going to move forward, but Russia I don't think, could ever trust the Trump administration, nor could anybody in the world. We want to have good relations with China. We'll destroy that. We will become literally that which Donald Trump said he didn't want us to become, a warmongering nation going out in search of enemies, getting ourselves bogged down in yet another Middle East conflict that kills hundreds of thousands, costs trillions. And this one could dangerously go nuclear. The potential for escalation to the use of nuclear weapons is real because, as Donald Trump himself knows, and as Mike Waltz knows, when Trump was president last time, they did consider striking Iran. And one of the problems they faced was that our conventional weapons cannot penetrate Iran's underground nuclear facilities. So in order to take out Iran's underground nuclear facilities, we would need deep penetration low yield nuclear weapons, which Donald Trump ordered to be built and deployed. And today, these weapons are deployed and I believe are part of any targeting package that we're preparing to use against Iran.